Well, good morning, everybody. My name is Ron Cottom. I'm out of the Tupelo office. I operate as the chaplain and bereavement coordinator. This is my second time to come on and do our bereavement support group. And I'm looking forward to it today. I hope everybody's doing well. I hope everybody is walking in blessing too. And so today I want to give you a topic. I'm going to take my time on this one. It's not going to take very long, but I want to give you plenty of time to ask questions at the end. And we'll look forward to hopefully helping you or refresh some things that you already know. And that's one of the things that I love to do sometimes in my studies is go back and learn some things that maybe not necessarily that I've forgotten, but we can all freshen up on our skills on how we help those in need for coping skills and just dealing with life. Today's topic is going to be called in the form of a question. What does grief look and feel like? What does grief look and feel like? You know, to process and deal with grief, it can be very helpful to understand what it may look and feel like, both emotionally and physically. And grief is personal and unique to every person. Everybody deals with grief differently. And so over the years, I have just asked the Lord to develop my heart in a sense that no matter what somebody is feeling, that it's unique, and I want to take it as uniquely as possible so I can help them identify the things that help them cope with the grief that they're dealing with. And it doesn't follow a set of pattern or timeline. Some of us might feel it's intensely intense right away, and others might experience it more gradually. It's also not something that goes away without us taking time to process. Some process easier, some it takes a little longer to process. It can linger and change over time, and sometimes resurfaces unexpectedly. Sometimes there's triggers that just cause a lot of our emotion and our physical lives to change through our grief process. And as the saying goes, what we resist persists. What we resist persists. And so I want to take our time today just to kind of look at some of the signs that we might be grieving. And for those that are joining and you're going through some grief times in your life, hopefully these will help you identify maybe this is a part of the grief process for you personally, or any of us that are looking to obviously identify the emotional signs when we're helping those that are grieving. But here are some emotional signs that we might be grieving. There's also a challenge in this in recognizing as grief in the first instance, but there are some common emotional signs that I want to look at that we can look out for. One is called sadness. Everybody gets sad. Everybody has some sad times in their life. Grief can hit hard. It can build up over time, leaving us feeling tearful, low, and uncharacteristically emotional. A good cry can be helpful, but if we regularly find ourselves sobbing over books and movies we've seen before, or sitting in the kitchen floor crying because we forgot to buy a key ingredient or something for dinner, this might be a signal that we have some feelings that need to be processing in our lives. Sadness comes in so many different ways. And so it's really important that we understand and know that, when we are sad, that we want to process and try to get beyond that, not necessarily stop being sad, but being able to adapt to life and live life to the fullest, even when we have these emotions going on in our life. So one of those emotional signs, of course, in grieving is sadness. The second one is anger. And this could be directed at ourselves, others, or the situation we find ourselves in. If we are usually quite level-headed and find ourselves snapping at those around us, it's a telltale sign that we're grieving in some area of our life, and that's causing us to lash out or have those angry emotions, or another emotion is building up. And so it's really important that, when we're going through our grief process, that we identify these emotional signs to make sure that we're addressing those things in our life. Because one thing I pray about, one thing I strive to work hard at, and that's helping somebody get through these emotions, and not to necessarily ever see them go away, but to help them navigate through life, and they're not overcoming their life in any way or causing them to stumble and fall and just have all kinds of issues in life. And that's what we want to try to, help people with. And emotional signs of our grieving are very, very evident, and we just have to address those. And we do it, one moment at a time. So we've talked about sadness, we've talked about anger. There's also lethargy or lethargic, or I should explain this. It's I don't care. It's that lack of energy and heaviness in the body, where even the simplest tasks like showering or eating feel like such hard work. And if we're not careful, that can be one of those emotional things that we're dealing with, and we're not addressing it in our life. And I never want to become lethargic. It's just not in me, and I fight through these things a lot of times because obviously, we deal with so many things in life, and it can cause us to have that lack of energy and the heaviness in the body. And if we're regularly feeling lethargic, it could be a sign of a wider issue in our life. And that's why it's important to know that lethargy is definitely an emotional sign of grieving. Another emotional sign is just losing interest. I deal with a lot of people sometimes, and I can see them in their wheelchairs and sitting in their rooms by the window, just looking out in space. And you can just tell they're just so not interested in life. And so I try to come in with a smile. I try to come in with a hug or a handshake and try to help them as much as I can to get them to open up and find what it is that's keeping them at a place that they just lose interest in life. And it's so easy when we're grieving to lose interest, because we just feel that overwhelming feeling and we don't sometimes want to deal with it. And it causes us to lose interest. We may find we've lost interest in the things that we used to enjoy. Now they seem dull or unimportant. This may look like withdrawing from hobbies and our friends and no longer replying to their messages. And so these are one of those telltale signs that someone's actually got a deeper issue in their grief process, is losing interest. And this is one I see a lot of, and I think everybody can attest to this one. Another emotional sign is anxiety. I see anxiety in so many different people, and I get calls a lot of times from administrators and director of nursing staff, and they'll call and they're like, "Hey, Brother Ron, we've got somebody that is just really just shaky, and they're nervous, and they have this anxiety built up." And so we might find that we're overwhelmed with worry. And I try to not worry about the things that I can't change. And that's easier said than done. But obviously, if you have no control over it, why worry about it? And so it's just really important to know that, when we look in the mirror, we are responsible for us and how we can affect change and how we can affect life. So building our anxiety is real easy to do when you look in this world. That's why we have to be real cautious. We do get overwhelmed with worry about the future or just how we will get through tomorrow. And one of the things I've always understood is I can't change yesterday, and I don't know what holds tomorrow. So I'm going to do everything I can to focus on this day. As God's word says, this is a day that he has made. Let us rejoice and be glad in it. When you're glad in something, there's a lot less anxiety. And so anxiety is one of those emotions that can creep up on us. And it does it quite often, more often than not. So anxiety can also come through as decision overwhelm, or where we're making a choice, such as what we have for dinner, may feel difficult. Let's be real cautious about the anxiety, emotional um, um, thing that we see in a lot of people's lives, or maybe our lives. Another emotional one that we can identify as an overactive mind or body, an overactive mind or body, an inability to sit still or fully relax or stop our thoughts from just getting out of control. If we always feel the need to keep busy, this could be us as well. And so it's really important that we're identifying, are we overactive too much? And I just believe that it's very necessary as we're dealing with the things in life and the struggles of life, being the different, I hate to say this, but the different tools that the enemy tries to use to keep us bound in places that we're not free. And my pastor just said this last Sunday, whom the Son has made free is free indeed. So we have a lot of blessings that we can really enjoy to help us deal with the grief that we're bearing. Grief comes, like I said, in so many different ways. And it's just important that we identify those things that seem to rob us of our joy, to rob us of our ability to want to do anything at all in life. And I want to continue making a difference as long as that I'm here in this world. I want to make a difference one soul at a time. And I just feel like there's a lot more needs that need to be met. And so I'm trying to identify all these things in different people's lives and my own life, so we combat these things and get the proper healing that needs to take place in all of our grief processes. And so another one is coping challenges. One thing that I've understood and know is that coping is definitely an emotional sign that we're grieving even more. Finding it hard to handle things that once seemed manageable, or even brought us all that joy, and now it doesn't bring us that joy, or feeling like everything is just too much, overwhelming feelings. And so coping challenges, always try to help people find those coping things that help them not just get by, but to help them overcome. One of the things that I do for my coping mechanism personally is I love to play chess. It's a very challenging game. I've only got a handful of people that really like to play. And then if I can't find that, I'll take a basketball, and I love to shoot basketball, and exercise seems to be a great coping mechanism for me. And then I love music. I just absolutely love music. I love oldies, and I enjoy seeing the music just take a huge part of my life and brings me a lot of joy. And not only that, but when I'm able to play some music for some of these nursing homes and assisted livings, you can find somebody that has not been dealing with life very well, or had not much joy in their life, and you can come in and start playing one of those favorite songs, and it just changes their life. And it's so rewarding to see that, the things that bring us joy, we have to focus on those things. We have to do them more often. Exercise, music, or playing a game, basketball and chess. These things will help you release a lot of those emotions, that it's not necessarily putting it aside, not addressing it, but it's helping you understand that, you're healing, and in your healing process, you can still enjoy life. And that's what this is all about. So we talked about the emotional signs of grieving, and now I want to switch gears just for a few moments. But before I do that, is there any questions on any of the emotional signs that we've talked about? Well, you're a quiet crowd. Well, let's look at some physical signs. We talked about the emotional signs, and we definitely want to make sure that I insert this, that the emotional signs that we've talked about can also affect us physically. But let's really look and unwrap the physical signs that we might be grieving. Alongside this, there may be physical signs to look out for. And one is tension. Tension definitely is one of those physical signs that, someone may be grieving deeper than normal. Grief can lead to muscle tension because they're just uptight about what it is that they're feeling, especially in the neck, shoulders, and back. And so if you find someone that is just so tense, if you yourself are so tense, you might want to, evaluate that, and maybe even go see a friendly chiropractor. And I go to a chiropractor at least once or twice a month, and I've got a great Christian chiropractor that I trust, and it's really helped. It's helped me in a lot of ways be able to deal with the overwhelming feelings that sometimes I get. And just because I do this for a living or minister or counsel doesn't mean that I don't, have these times and moments that I struggle in my coping mechanisms or the grief that I deal with. We all, can carry these things. So tension is one of those physical signs that we might be grieving. I also want to look at headaches. We might notice an increase in headaches or migraines, and these can range from mild to very severe. And sometimes grief, people keep things suppressed. And when they're keeping them suppressed, they're eating at their insides. And so when it's on the inside, a lot of times it's what our thoughts are going through, and we're just putting ourselves through torment. And when you're doing that, you can cause a lot of serious headaches, and those headaches turn into migraines. And that might be just one of those physical signs that someone is really grieving deeper than normal. Sore muscles, the body's physical response to emotional stress can result in general body aches and soreness, as we have had from a workout. And I can tell sometimes when I'm dealing with some of the heaviest grief issues that I've had to deal with, I can tell that it would cause me to tense up. And then sometimes that headache, along with sore muscles and just tense body, it just causes you to be sore. So it's really important to kind of identify these things so we don't have these troubles down the road. But these are, I believe, physical signs that we might be grieving deeper: tension, headaches, and sore muscles. And then fatigue. Fatigue, I think, hits everybody. And sometimes people are grieving so deep and they're grieving so hard that fatigue really is a huge sign that there's some deeper rooted issues. Grieving takes an immense toll on the energy levels, even with enough sleep. And we might feel unusually tired and drained due to the emotional weight that we carry. And so I think it's really important that we address those things and address all these signs, these physical signs that we're seeing here today and talking about. Feeling run down. Grief can weaken the immune system. I don't know if anybody realizes that, but grief can weaken the immune system, making it more susceptible to illnesses and leaving us feeling generally unwell. And I have seen that firsthand, not only in my life, and I can testify from that, but I've seen it in others, that they just feel run down because of the weight of the grief that they're dealing with. And so what we want to do is we want to try to help in any area that we can, and try to help them, deal with the grief and just take that step-by-step process to the healing that they deserve and that we all deserve in our grief process. Sleep disturbances. Look out for difficulty falling asleep, frequent waking up during the night, or experiencing restless sleep patterns. Sleep disturbances, to me, I believe, are a huge physical sign that there's a lot more grief that is not being addressed. Changes in appetite. I know a lot of times when I'm just overwhelmed in my thoughts and my prayers, I can tell that sometimes it'll affect me one way or another. Changes in appetite. Sometimes I don't feel like eating, or how some people, they'll feed their grief. And so sometimes, it goes the opposite way, where they just can't, they're snacking all the time or eating all the time because they're trying to mask the grief that they're dealing with. Grief might lead to changes in appetite. We might eat significantly more or less than usual to cope with the suppressed emotions. And then last but not least, I'm not going to get too graphic on this, but digestive issues. Stress from grief can affect your digestive system. And so causing stomach aches, nausea, bloating, changes in bowel habits. These are signs, physical signs, that there might be some deeper grief going on. And so these are things that I've seen over the years. And I wrote these down. I've kept them with me. And I really, really try to do a good job making sure that when I do my evaluations on anyone, that I see these things, because I just want to help in any way possible. Not a nurse, not a social worker. I'm just a man that is trying to do the Lord's will and trying to help people in any way that I can. And if I identify something that could be a struggle or a problem, I try to address it as quick as possible, or get to the one that can actually help me address it with that particular patient or each other. And so I hope that this has been well received in your heart today. I pray that you have written down some of these things, that you can help identify what's going on in someone's life, or a coworker, a patient, a facility nurse. I get calls all the time, and it's just I hate to say this, but sometimes it's overwhelming. But the more tools that we have in place, it's just easier. It's easier to have these tools, because a lot of times you can share one of these tools and it really does effectively 100% work for people in their lives when you show them how to properly cope, and you show them the things that might be going on in their life. And when they start addressing them, true healing takes place. So with that being said, I'll open the panel to discussion or some questions that maybe you have. And if I don't have the answer, I'm sure someone on here does.